Hey YouTube, Jonathan here at Night Knowledge. Today we're going to look at the new California board game expansion. I'm going to talk to you today about the rules because I found that the literal one-page set of rules did a very poor job of explaining the game. And I'm also going to be doing something I've never done before, which is basically a review of the game. I normally don't do reviews because I like all types of games. Like, I don't have a specific type that I like. Like, I don't enjoy games where you fight or there's too much conflict, but I'll still play it, and usually I don't mind it. Maybe the only type of game I don't truly like is dudes on a board type of game, but in most cases I'll still play it, and I don't want to really dissuade anyone from playing a certain type of game. But I think I need to do a review on this specific expansion for your benefit. So let's start off right away with some rules clarifications. So the first thing that I think most people are going to be interested in are the 5 new characters that you can play in this new California expansion. We have the Lone Gunslinger, a Mr. Handy, an NCR Ranger, a Caravan Merchant, and an Enclave Deserter. You can play these both in the expansion and the base game. So starting off with the Lone Gunslinger, let's read it out to see what it does. During a fight, if this card is currently in your inventory, your currently equipped weapon gains luck. You cannot purchase, gain, or equip companions while this item is either equipped or in your inventory. It's a hand weapon. So the bottom part about the not purchasing or gaining things is pretty self-explanatory. What is tricky is the top part. Once again, during a fight, if this card is in your inventory, your currently equipped weapon gains luck. What that means is, if you have your trusty sidearm in your inventory versus equipped, and you have another ranged weapon equipped, like a sniper rifle, it will give your sniper rifle or that weapon, your equipped weapon, the luck trait. So if you look at this sniper rifle, it currently has the traits of P for perception and A for agility. So if your character currently has a perception or agility, it will give 1 free reroll during combat for each special that you have. So, but what the trusty sidearm is going to do is that as long as it's in your inventory, the trusty sidearm gives the sniper rifle also L, or the luck special. So if you have perception, agility, or luck, each one will give you 1 free reroll during combat. So that's quite good. Don't forget the range symbols on weapons. It allows you to attack enemies 1 space away, and if that enemy doesn't have a gun symbol on the enemy token, that means you deal 1 additional hit. It's also good for defensive purposes. If enemies with that gun symbol attacks your character, if you have a gun symbol weapon equipped, that means you do not take an additional hit damage from them. So looking at Mr. Handy, it comes with 2 beginning cards. And let's take a look at what they do. The first one is an item or apparel, so it's armor basically. It provides 1 armor, and it says, this item cannot be unequipped or discarded. You may keep 2 additional cards in your inventory. If you have at least 1 junk card in your inventory, increase your armor by 1. You also do not suffer any radiation. So pretty easy. The top part cannot be unequipped or discarded. Okay, that's easy, you just don't touch it. You get to keep 2 additional items in your inventory, that's great. And if you have at least 1 junk card in your inventory, it increases your armor by 1, and that doesn't like use it up, which is great. And I think one of the best things about the Mr. Handy is that you do not suffer radiation. So we'll talk about this a little bit further, but this is really good in the base campaign stories because if you play long enough, somehow, you could possibly die or lose the game outright from having your radiation exceed your health. But Mr. Handy doesn't suffer radiation and thus can run through radiation zone or fight radiation enemies without fear. Looking at the second card on the right of Mr. Handy, it says, place this card in your play area. It cannot be traded or discarded. You cannot use drug or aid items or gain traits other than vilified and idolized. You may discard a junk card to recover 5 hit points. So pretty easy. The top part, once again, cannot be traded or discarded. The second thing is a little trickier. It makes sense. You can't use drug or aid items, and that will help you when you're doing tests or when you're doing combat, which is quite a big thing in the game. So that is kind of a big downside. And one thing that you may not be thinking about is that you can only gain vilified or idolized, but that means you also cannot gain well rested. Well rested, when you take the camp action, it not only heals 3 hit points, but you gain the well rested trait. The well rested trait allows you to discard once to gain 1 free reroll in either a combat or a test. So that's pretty important too. The Mr. Handy might have the endurance for a long game, but it may not succeed. Like, you'll have to get pretty lucky rolls to succeed as Mr. Handy. So looking to the right is the NCR Ranger. Let's flip it over. It's an item, and what it says is, when placing your figure during setup, flip 2 tiles that are adjacent to the starting tile. Choose 1 space on any of those tiles to start in. You may ignore the, lightning symbol icon on enemies. You gain 1 additional movement point from move actions. So the top part, I guess, is the hard part, which is basically almost, I think in every game, you always start off at the crossroad town. And what the NCR Ranger allows you to do is that it allows you to automatically explore 2 of the adjacent tiles to that tile. And then you get to choose which tile if you'd like to start in any of them. So it gives you the advantage. You might start off a little bit further away than your opponents, which is usually a good thing. And one of the other features I like, per below, it says you may ignore the lightning symbol icon on enemies, which means when an enemy with that symbol moves onto your character space, normally it would immediately attack you. But the NCR Ranger allows you to avoid this. And it's may, which is the keyword may. So if you want to, if an enemy encounters you, you can allow it to attack you, or you can choose to not let it attack you. And something else that I like is that you gain 1 additional movement point for move actions. So that means if you use 2 move actions in 1 turn, you can move up to 6 spaces, which is great for covering long distances. The 4th character we have is the Caravan Merchant, and he comes with a companion, which is Lady Butterheart. And what it says is, after setup, gain 4 caps. When you perform a camp action, you may shop once. Other survivors may give you 1 cap to shop once when they camp in your space. So the top is self-explanatory. It gives you 4 caps. Also, know that it doesn't say the things that the other cards are saying, which is basically this card can be unequipped, or this companion can be unequipped. It could be discarded or stolen from other players. So you'll have to be careful and maybe use Lady Butterheart as soon as possible or before it gets stolen from you. I like that when you perform a camp action, all other players doesn't have the special ability, which is when you camp, you can shop. So you're gonna have more money, so you'll probably be able to afford a pretty good item right from the get-go. Or very early, which can give you a pretty big advantage in the game. The last character we're going to look at is the Enclave Deserter. He has a armor, which gives 1 armor, and that's not bad, except for the fact that remember in the base game that the Brotherhood Outcast has an armor value of 2. So unfortunately, the advanced power armor that the Enclave Deserter has is not as good. What it does instead is that when you kill an enemy, you gain 1 additional experience. Pretty self-explanatory. How this is better than having more damage mitigation compared to the Brotherhood Outcast is that the Brotherhood Outcast, when you use a move action, you only have 1 movement point instead of 2, and you'd have to pay caps to ignore this effect. So a Enclave Deserter will be able to move normally and faster. So maybe they should be chasing after enemies, but maybe picking and choosing their combats. So those are the 5 characters. We're going to talk about the cooperative aspect of the game now. One of the big reasons that I purchased this expansion was that the New California expansion touted how it had a new cooperative mode. And for Fallout players, that's like a big draw, you know, being able to play together. Sure, you can fight each other, but a lot of people like playing cooperatively. So I bought this expansion for that. Now, here's the thing. This expansion comes with 1 expansion scenario, the New California expansion, or the New California scenario. There are 4 additional scenarios, but they're all still competitive. There's no cooperative mode. It's not like this is how you play cooperatively. It's literally only 1 scenario that is cooperative, and it'll relatively play the same each time, even if the tiles are placed differently. So let's not dwell too much on that. Maybe we'll dwell about that in the review. Let's talk about the rules. Basically, our goal as cooperative players is we want the star faction to get all the way from the top to the bottom before the shield faction gets down to the bottom. Now, there won't be any star faction tokens on the table. There'll only be shield ones. So let's just look at the other side of the card first, just to see what the setup looks like. And basically, you're gonna stage 184. So you're gonna take card 184 and put it in the play area so people can see this is like the main story. And then you're gonna add cards 240 and 241 to basically the random side quests that you add to the ruins and the settlement icon card piles. So let me show you. So that is the settlement one, and here is the ruins one. So that's how you handle that. Just put down 180 and then add those 1 card of each of 240 and 241, because there's multiple copies of those numbers, and you just randomly choose one and add them to the deck, and they kind of add an additional side quest for you. And then as the setup says, you place 1 shield token on the Poseidon oil rig over here. And then in the base game, they told you to certain agenda cards in the bottom left tells you when you should use them, whether there's 3+ players, or whether there's 2+ players, or even if there's 4 players. So what it's telling you here is that you create the agenda deck using all the agenda cards, and you also do not draw agenda cards during the beginning steps. So in the base game, you would take agenda cards and you would give 1 to each player, and that's their hidden objective. Which may help them decide how they'll play the game. In the New California cooperative expansion, there is no giving players of agenda cards. They are put all together. You don't have to worry about how many players there are. You just add them all together and shuffle them. So let's look at the card a little closer for the rules. So both of the factions will start at the top. I just have them here for, there you go. So basically what it's saying, like I told you, the star faction needs to reach the bottom of the bottom space for you to win. You lose if the shield token gets down to the bottom. Something special is that if any player is killed, you advance the shield space 1. So you can't be too aggressive in this game, because by dying, you're possibly getting closer to losing. Now, and it says here, at the end of the round, meaning that once all of the agenda cards have been used, you do not advance the star token. So in the base game, when you ran out of agenda cards to draw from, you would reshuffle it, but both factions would move closer. So what it's saying is that you don't advance the star, but that would mean that the shield would advance. I don't think there are too many games where that will happen. There's a very high chance that the game will end, either you'll win or you'll lose from just drawing agenda cards. There's a very low chance that you'll actually have to do this end of round step right here. So now this is the most important thing that I didn't understand until I finished my first cooperative game with my best friend. Basically what it says is that when you draw an agenda card, you do one of 3 things. These agenda cards will have one of these 3 things here. It'll say security, freedom, or have some random name, but it won't be freedom or security. What the game is telling you is that if you draw an agenda card at the end of all players' turns, you draw 1 agenda card. If you draw a security card, you will move the security symbol actually backwards. If you draw a freedom card with the star, you actually move the star token down. And if you get a agenda card without a star or a shield, then you just resolve the bottom effects, which is the activation of the enemies. Now, I'll quickly read what the bottom says. After this enemy type activates, which is the shield, advance the shield faction token 1 space. Then, if there are 5 or more shield on the map, advance the shield faction token 1 additional space. Otherwise, place a shield token on the nearest unexplored tile to Arroyo. If there are no unexplored tiles, place a shield on the Poseidon oil rig. So, a whole lot of mumbo jumbo. Basically what it says is, so we said that when you draw a freedom agenda card, you're moving the token forward. So you're getting closer to winning. But we also said that when you draw a security card, is moving it backwards. So you'd think, how does the security get down closer? So how would you lose? Well, it's saying that at the bottom of these security cards, and only security cards, there is a 5 in 8 chance that at the bottom it'll have the shield or the security symbol. So what it's saying is that when you see this symbol down here, you're going to move the shield faction forward 1. But there is a chance, there is a 3 in 8 chance when drawing a security card that there is no shield symbol on there. So if you drew this security card, you would actually move the security token backwards. Now, what the other part of this explanation right here in the bottom says is that whenever you draw a card that has a security symbol at the bottom, you're going to check to see whether there are 5 or more shield tokens on the board. If there are, then you're moving the shield faction power forward 1. But if there isn't 5 shield tokens on the board, you will add a shield token to the closest unexplored tile, so that's unrevealed, an unrevealed tile on the board, closest to this space right here, which is Arroyo. So knowing that, players should probably explore the areas close to Arroyo and make sure that there are no empty spots. I don't want to give any spoilers, but it will have an impact in your game. So once again, if you draw an agenda with a shield icon, you check to see whether there are 5 or more shield tokens on your board. If there are, you increase the shield faction power 1 down. If there isn't 5 shield tokens on the board, then you add 1 closest to Arroyo that is unexplored. If every single tile is explored, then you spawn them on the Poseidon oil rig down here. So those are the rules, the cooperative rules to the scenario. We're going to talk about the vaults next. Now, without doing too much spoilers, there's going to be at least 2 new vaults in the New California expansion that you're going to encounter. This was the part that really confused me because they didn't explain it at all in the quick reference guide, and it only explains it on the card, and I felt like I was reading it over and over and over, and only after about an hour did I finally understand how it works. Basically what it says is that when you encounter the specific vault and you get the card, it will say resolve encounter 204. So you're gonna grab 204. And basically what the 204 card says is to add 205 to 209. Now that's fine. And basically, you know what that means is you grab the cards and you shuffle them up. You shuffle them up, and then it becomes a new deck that you'll be drawing from, kind of like the Settlement and the Ruins. But what confused me was that now what they're saying is that it says, place this card face up near the game board and place your figure on it. This card is a space that is adjacent to the Vault 44 space. And options with an indicated direction cannot be selected if there's already a card in the indicated direction or if no cards remain on or in the 44 deck. A lot of mumbo jumbo. Basically what it says is, basically what you do is with this card, you have it in the middle. So what it means is that you have 2 options. You can either explore the eastern corridor to the right, or you explore the western corridor to the left. Say I choose number 1. I explore the eastern corridor. First, you do this. Draw and fight 1 insect creature, okay? You do that, you resolve it. Next, you place 1 encounter card to the right of this card. So from what I understand is that this is now a special space adjacent to your game board. It doesn't really say whether any future cards, like this one we just put over here, is another space. It just says that this is a space. So we consider it separate from the board, but in a way part, which is what really confused me. The way that I handle it now is that on future turns, I can choose to either explore the western corridor by doing what's below here, or I can say I'm going to encounter this one right here. If I encounter it, I just flip it over, and now I have 2 options. I can either take the exit east, or I can take the west exit. So I believe in this situation, because there's already a card to the left, you would just keep exploring east. There will be other cards that allows you to explore, like seeing this one. This one allows you to explore to the right or up. So if this card had been here instead, my player would have had two options. I can explore to the right, and that will put a card to the right. So let me just move that over. So I can explore to the right, or I can explore up and place a card above it. That is the main feature of the vaults, in that there's going to be additional, I guess, board space that you'll need to allocate for the specific vault. Eventually though, the vault will be all used up and there won't be any reason to be exploring it or for anyone to go in there. Okay, so now I'll do my first quick review of any board game that I've ever done, and we're going to start off with the Fallout New California expansion. So basically you're getting this game because you have the Fallout base game and you want an expansion to it, okay? And if you specifically want this game because you want more characters for more game variety, then yes, I would totally recommend getting this expansion if that is your highest priority, because it provides 5 new characters that are played differently and they are not overpowered compared to the base game, which is always horrible when expansion characters are much stronger than the base ones, so you don't want to play the base ones anymore. Now, the second thing that we're going to talk about is that the main consideration to buying this would be the New California scenario, cooperative scenario. Now, I felt this was a marketing scam of Fantasy Flight Games. I don't mean to be rude, but I think it's a scam. They say on here, a new cooperative scenario allows survivors to work together, blah, blah, blah. So in my mind, and I imagine in most people's minds, when you read that, you're like, oh, there's going to be cooperative scenarios, not scenario singular, but scenarios plural. And there was only one cooperative scenario. So it's not 5 scenarios that are cooperative, and it's not a mode that you can apply to the base game's scenarios. It's only this one scenario. So that might get old pretty fast. And I feel like I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed by Fantasy Flight Games. I might think twice or maybe pay much closer attention to a box when I'm reading the expansion, because I don't feel like they were very truthful. I felt like they were actually quite deceptive in what they presented to us. Now, to further show proof of that is, let's look at one of the other expansions to that came in the New California. So this one is The Pit. Now, does that look kind of familiar to you? If you think it does, you're right. Here is The Pit base scenario right over here. It is the exact same scenario, just a larger board. And if you look at the top here, you're adding 2 random scenarios that you might draw if you encounter those ruins or those settlements. Other than that, the 4 other new scenarios that comes in this box is just revamps of the initial ones. So you're gonna have the Pit, you're gonna have that Far Harbor. They're all just expanded, and you're just adding tiles to the board, and you're adding, in each one it says you're adding 2 random quests to it. Nothing else has changed about it, and I feel that's very deceptive of a Fantasy Flight. So other than that, it comes with more enemy tokens, basically 1 or 2 of each. It says it here at the bottom, so I guess, you know, if someone wanted to sue Fantasy Flight for deceptive products, you know, they're covered over here. It's like, oh, we told you right here what it was, but you know, I expected more. I expected better of Fantasy Flight, and now I'm always gonna keep that in the back of my head. If I buy a Fantasy Flight game, I'm like, do they deserve my money for kind of being deceptive with New California? And let's make sure I'm getting my money's worth. So it does come with some more items and unique assets and some new perk cards. But I think for most people, once again, the main reason you're getting this expansion would be for the characters and the cooperative mode. But once again, as we talked about, the cooperative mode is lacking, severely lacking. So that is my Fallout New California expansion review. I hope that the rules helped you understand how to explain it, how to understand it, how to tackle it when you encounter it. I hope that my review didn't feel too negative, but it's important to state what is its shortcomings. And the expansion is not cheap. If this was a $20 expansion, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. I got new characters for $20. But this was at my favorite board game store, which is the cheapest usually on average, $46 plus tax Canadian. So it's almost the price of like a whole new game. So that is something to consider. Just, bear in mind what I said, new characters, a lackluster cooperative mode, here's some new tiles to add to your base game. But the only thing that's really going to change is the characters and the new items that it comes with. I hope this video helped you out today. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Let me know in the comments below whether you purchased the New California expansion, whether you liked it or whether you thought it was lacking as well. Check out my blog, nightknowledge.com, for other videos on board games, video games, and other how-to tutorials. Thank you for watching today. I'll see you next time.